I'm Jeff Altman, the big game hunter. I work as a professional coach. I used to be in recruiting for more than 40 years. I now do executive job search coaching. I'm also the head coach for JobSearchCoachingHQ.com and NoBSCoachingAdvice.com. And the question I was asked is, should I accept less money? Now, I want to start by saying that my bias is against doing it, but I also want to lay out the cases where it makes sense. There aren't many, but there are a couple of instances. And then I'm going to go back for the conclusion, which is generally don't do it. The few reasons where it makes sense, the few circumstances where it makes sense is the great opportunity. Now, to me, there are relatively few great opportunities, but I'm not in your seat. I don't live your life. You have to look at what is a great opportunity for you that would cause you to accept less. So for the person making $100,000 a year or $200,000 a year, the notion of accepting a few $1,000s less for the great opportunity is not a big deal. For the person who makes $50,000 a year, it's a different story. So under those circumstances, you have to weigh that conclusion for yourself and come to your own decision. For the person who's been out of work for a long time, you don't have a job right now and you don't have a career. You've been out of work for 6, 8, 9, 12 months, longer, and someone's offering you less money than you earned when you were working back when. You don't have a job and you don't have a career anymore. It's over. And the fact that someone's willing to give you the shot after so many people turned you down, that's a circumstance to consider. But understand, often firms are negotiating, and they'll talk about the individual who they've also met with, who's looking, this person's really strong, and we're weighing the two of you, and this person's willing to accept less. That's one of the classic scenarios where firms try to finesse you into taking less money. And frankly, I would turn around and say, hey, thanks for bringing that to my attention, but the fact is, if you think they're the better person for this role, you should really choose them. If we're really equal and they're willing to accept less, you should choose them. For me, I look at it in terms of, I cost more, I bring greater productivity. If I haven't convinced you of that yet, talk with me about what the perceived differences are between us, and let's address that. And the fact that they're raising this as a subject indicates that, it's close, and they do see a difference between the two of you. Otherwise, they wouldn't try and bring you down to that price point. After all, why bother? They could just choose the other person. So that's a factor. It's a negotiating ploy. Another factor that I think you need to take into consideration is it's not just simply about accepting $5,000 or $10,000 less now. It's the fact that it affects every dollar you ever earn for that firm and beyond, all because you accepted less money, because they build their raises based upon what you're currently earning, right? So if you accept $5,000 less, I'm just going to pick simple numbers. You're making $110 and you accept $100, and you get that 5% increase at $100. Well, you're at $105. But had you been at $110, well, the raise would have been higher, wouldn't it? So understand there's an impact not just simply now, but even if you change jobs 2-3 years from now, they're often blending, or they're often creating their increases based upon what you were previously earning. They're formulas. Now, if you're in Massachusetts, for now, that may become different next year, but for most organizations in most parts of the country, they're building salary increases based upon current salary. They're not trying to take up the fact that, hey, I took $10,000 less. They work off the current numbers because that's the fact. So understand there's an impact upon you that you'll never recover from. So I generally am against it. If it means that much to an organization that you take $5,000 or $10,000 less, there's a bigger problem there in terms of how you're marketing yourself that you need to address. So And generally, thumbs down to the notion of accepting less, except in the circumstances that I've already outlined. Again, I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. By the way, listen to my podcasts. I've got Job Search Radio and No BS Job Search Advice Radio. They're both at iTunes and Stitcher. They come out. No BS Job Search Advice is a daily show. Job Search Radio is 5 days a week. Subscribe to the shows. Get some great advice that will help you in your search. Have a great day. Take care.